Hello, listeners. It's April here. So I went to the Toronto International Film Festival this year for TIFFty, 50 years of TIFF. And I was able to secure a press pass this year, which was great. I saw 9 movies. And so I thought it would be fun to record a little podcast just giving my kind of mini reviews of the movies that I've seen. So it's just going to be me, no Colin or Justin for this little bonus episode. Colin didn't see any movies. Justin saw movies, but we didn't see the same ones. So I didn't think it would really make sense for us to do some kind of joint episode. So it's just going to be me. I'm going to be just going off the cuff here. I apologize if I sound a little tired. I still have the post-TIFF fatigue. It turns out seeing a lot of movies in a week and a half is actually very exhausting. I saw even more last year. I saw 10, but I wasn't working last year. This year I had a commercial I was editing right before the fest, and then I kind of started one during the fest, and then I'm still working on it now, so I didn't really have a lot of time to rest. So I'm a little tired, and I've been playing Silk Song way too much. But let's talk about the movies. So as far as like what movies I watched, it's funny because like they release the ones that are going to be in the festival, and I think they said it was like over 400 movies this year or something. So you just go through each one, me anyway, and I just like all you get is like one image, the title, very, very short blurb, and then like the director and whatever actors that are in it. So I just kind of went through and made a list of ones that might seem like I would want to see them. And through those, I just picked ones that had tickets available on days and times that I could go. So it's kind of funny because I follow a lot of people on Letterboxd, friends of mine, colleagues who are in the film industry, and they saw like completely different movies. But that's the festival for you. So let's get right into it. The first one I saw was a documentary, and it was called Still Single. And the only reason I even knew about this one was I ran into a colleague while me and Colin were out one night. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to TIFF. And he's like, oh, you should check out Still Single. I produced it. So I was like, oh, what's that? Yeah, it ended up being one of the ones that fit on my schedule. So Still Single, it is a documentary about a local Toronto sushi chef named Saito, Masakai Saito. And he gained popularity because he was the only restaurateur, I believe, or only chef in Toronto that got a Michelin star when they came here several years ago. So he has this very small, very, very exclusive, very, very expensive sushi restaurant that I think they only serve, I don't know, like 14 customers a night or something. And it was really good. It was just kind of about him as a person, as a chef, and about the other people that kind of work at the restaurant. It's really more about him and his personality, and like he's a bit of a party animal. He's called Still Single because he kind of talks about how he has like a hard time maybe relating to other people. So it is about like the food in which like you see like where the rice comes from and how they go about like purchasing the fish and the soy sauce, but it's not as much like delicious like food shots as I was expecting. It's more like the behind the scenes. So it is kind of less about the people and more about less about the food and more about the people. I did get the sense, and also the directors and Saito was at the screening I was at. They were like, we've been like recording this guy for 5 years, and we finally like came out with a documentary. So it did kind of feel like they had a lot of footage, and then they had to kind of find the story later, which makes sense. Like lots of docs are like that. But it kind of like went off kind of on some different tangents. Like it's about like his sous chef for a while, and he goes back to Japan and like what his story is. So I guess maybe at times it seemed a little unfocused, but it was still like a kind of like a chill thing to watch. I really appreciated the music. Like it had good score, but also the use of regular songs in each scene. It would be totally different. Like there would be like a rap song, and there would be like a city pop song, and it it made it stand out in a sense that I was like, okay, I can really get the sense that these people have kind of like their finger on the pulse of how to use music effectively. And so, side note, when I was leaving the theater, they had a huge like thing set up right outside the Lightbox, which is the theater where a lot of TIFF movies are shown. And they had all these sushi chefs lined up in this like wooden, like, I don't know, like gazebo kind of long thing. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but if I find a picture, I'll put it on the YouTube. And then this huge lineup of people, the biggest lineup I think I've ever seen in that area. And then I'm walking by and it's like still single, the omakase experience. So I think that they were giving out free samples of like this exclusive sushi, which is great because in the movie they said I think to dine there is like $460 Canadian or something for one night, and I'm guessing that probably doesn't include alcohol. But yeah, so that was kind of cool. So yeah, still single. Directed by the way by Jamal Berger and Jukan Tatsisi. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Okay. So next one I saw another documentary. I saw 4 docs this year. That's funny. It was called, let me pull up the title. You Had to Be There, How the Toronto Godspell Ignited the Comedy Revolution, Spread Love in Overalls, and Created a Community that Changed the World in a Canadian Kind of Way. So from here to forth, it will be called the Godspell documentary, because that's what everyone's calling it. And this was like a total random pick. I was just like, oh, I don't know. It's something about Canadian comedy history. Like I kind of like picked it on a lark. It ended up being like one of my favorite ones that I saw this year. It was really, really good. If you are at all into not just Canadian comedy history, but history itself, comedy history, I think you will absolutely like it. So what the deal was is in the early 70s, there was a production of Godspell in Toronto, and it just so happened to have in its cast a ton of people who would later end up being super, super famous. So Martin Short was in it, Eugene Levy, Andrea Martin, Paul Schaefer, Victor Garber, Dave Thomas came in kind of later, Gilda Radner, and some more people who maybe are lesser well known, but you would know if you were in the you would know if you're Canadian. I'm just kind of pulling up the cast list here. So it's the cast list is not all right. The full cast list is not online, but you can look it up when it comes out. But yeah, so it's kind of just about all of these people and the how they got into comedy and how they first started, and then this wonderful production that has become legendary apparently in the comedic world. People know about it, and then like what they did after, and it was just like a really like fun, very, very funny documentary with a lot of funny people giving very funny interviews. And they're just like, it's like how things were very innocent at that time. It was before anybody had really taken off at all, but it's all just kind of about people who are just starting off, and it was just electric. Like this cast together was just phenomenal. And unfortunately, there's no footage of this production because it was a play, right? But what they did is they got an animator to do this kind of like Hanna-Barbera-esque animation segments, kind of detailing these scenes of things that would happen, like the audition process or whatever. And it worked really, really well. Yeah, and so I ended up seeing it. I didn't even realize this when I booked the tickets that this was like the premiere showing or whatever. And it was at the Royal Alexander Theatre, and this is the theater that the show was in. So that was pretty cool. And the Q&A after, which by the way was not a Q&A at all. It was just the cast kind of reminiscing and talking, much like they do in the movie, which is great. So Victor Garber was there, Eugene Levy, Paul Schaefer. I think that was it. And then they did a Zoom call with Martin Short and Andrea Martin and 2 other cast members whose names are escaping me right now. Avril Chown and the other woman, was it Heidi Gardner? Just put no, that's somebody else. Anyway, another woman who's oh, hang on, Jane Eastwood, was that her? Yes. Okay. Anyway, she's more of a Canadian comedy star. Anyway, she zoomed in, and yeah, they were all just kind of like talking and laughing, much like they were doing in the movie. But we got to see it live, so that was really cool. I don't know where or when this is coming out. It was directed by a guy named Nick Davis, and there was a lot of like crossover, funny enough, between a lot of the movies that I saw this year, which will come up later when I see talk about the John Candy documentary, because a lot of the same people were interviewed, right? And this movie also had the benefit of kind of being a portion of it was about Gilda Radner, so it was about her story and like her tragic death, but also how her legacy kind of lived on. And so they talk about, what happened after. All the crew kind of went to SCTV, and some people, like Gilda after that went to SNL. And it's just about like, well, what happened with their careers after the legendary production of Godspell. It was funny seeing Victor Garber in this, just because he's not really known for comedy, and he played Jesus in it, which is more of like a musical leader and less, I guess, comedy. The show is about, like the apostles and Jesus and their clowns. I don't know much about Godspell. I know a lot about Jesus Christ Superstar, but Godspell not so much. And then I didn't realize, oh yeah, Victor Garber, he was in the Godspell movie from the 70s. But yeah, he kind of seemed like the odd man out of all these people, but I still absolutely love Victor Garber. So it was cool seeing them in person. Great film. I would absolutely check it out. Next up, we have A Useful Ghost, which is a movie from Thailand. I'm not going to be able to pronounce the director's name. Ratchapum Boonbuncha Choke. I apologize. So this is how would I describe this? It's like a dramedy. It's a bit of a dark comedy, but it is also kind of very serious. It's kind of like a slow, very indie, very, very beautifully shot movie about ghosts. The basic premise is this guy gets a vacuum cleaner, and it is making noises, and he's like, what? And then a repairman shows up, and he's like, well, actually, that factory ghosts are possessing their vacuum cleaners. And then it kind of goes into, that's kind of like the wraparound story, and then it goes into the story of this guy whose wife dies, and she starts her ghost is possessing a vacuum cleaner, and it goes lots of interesting places. Like I said, it starts off funny, but it's very, very deadpan, and so there is kind of like a lot of like sadder moments, but it's kind of like a bit of a mixed bag, because the tone is very consistent, but at the beginning people are laughing at this stuff, but then kind of towards the end it's like it's really more melancholy kind of. There's a lot of themes revolving around dreams in it, and that kind of becomes a big factor in it. There's like a political message. It's kind of longer. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes. But it kind of gets to a point in the middle to second half where I was kind of not getting bored, but I was like kind of, I don't know, I felt like it was losing steam a little bit, but then like it totally stuck the landing. So I absolutely would recommend this movie. It's different. It's kind of got like a Wes Anderson, David Lynch thing going on. Like I said, the cinematography was like, wow, it was absolutely gorgeous. The director was at the screening, and he said, he was like, I wanted to make every frame look like a painting, and that's very, very true. The aspect ratio, I'm not sure what it was, but it was very tall, not square, but like almost square kind of. He really utilized the top of the frame, kind of like Yorgos Lanthimos does, and I was blown away by a lot of the scenery and the cinematography in the movie. So it's worth it just for that. But it's like it's hard. It's a bit hard to describe. It's like it's a cute movie, and it's interesting. It kind of reminded me of like Dream Scenario or something like that. But if this sounds interesting to you, check it out. Like the only thing that kind of bugged me was the ghost like rules felt a little unclear. They were probably in there, and maybe I just missed it, but I was like, okay, so when are they a vacuum cleaner? Why are they in vacuum cleaners? But also like later some ghosts appear like as corporeal, like you see them as humans, and I wasn't 100% sure why. I think I knew, but I just feel like it could have been explained a little better. But that was a very minor nitpick. A useful ghost. Check it out. Next up, we have A Private Life, or Vie Privée, directed by Rebecca Zlotsky. I apologize again. So this movie, it's a French movie starring Jodie Foster, and this was an incident of, oh, okay, Jodie Foster's in this. It's supposed to be it's a thriller. Sounds good. Like I totally picked it without knowing really anything about it. I've never seen anything by this director before. Let me see. Grand Central, Emmanuel. No, definitely not. But this was one of the biggest surprises of the festival. I did notice when I sat down that the audience was skewing older, and I'm like, okay. So that's kind of the vibe. But it was like it was a fun caper. So it's about Jodie Foster, who is a psychiatrist. She lives in Paris, I believe, somewhere in France. And one of her patients commits suicide. So, and this is very shocking to her. She had no idea. So she kind of starts looking into it, and the family kind of blames her, and she starts to investigate what happened to this woman. She starts being convinced that she was murdered and it wasn't a suicide. And through the process, she reconnects with her ex-husband. She has a strained relationship with her son, who just had a newborn baby. And it's kind of it's also kind of a dark comedy. Like it's a thriller, and it's a mystery, but it's kind of more of like, because she's a psychiatrist, but she kind of becomes like a hard-boiled detective, kind of similar to her character on True Detective, a season I did not like, but I watched the whole thing and I thought she was the best part of it. She's a little bit softer than that, I would say. But I mean, she's just the best. And she's speaking French. So I apparently didn't know Jodie Foster fluently speaks French. And like, again, this is something that is apparently known. I did not know this. She's playing an American though. So when she kind of like talks to herself, she'll talk in English. She's talking like in French, but then she might to herself just be like, what the fuck? Like, stuff like that. So she was endearing in it. Another really, really good looking movie, I would say. I just honestly I just loved it. I guess you could call it like a lighter fare, but there's still an intriguing mystery. I was intrigued. I liked the relationships because it's not just about this mystery, it's also about her. So she's kind of realizing things about herself in the movie, and I just thought it was really well done. Like no one seems to be, I don't know anybody who saw this at the festival, but I would highly recommend it. Yeah, if that sounds fun to you. Okay, next up, I saw the new Soderbergh movie, The Christophers, starring Ian McKellen and Michaela Cole, with smaller roles by Jessica Gunning, who you might recognize from Baby Reindeer, and James Corden himself. So this was a very good movie. It's about Ian McKellen, who plays kind of an aging, famous painter who kind of became like a Gordon Ramsay figure. Like he kind of became a famous celebrity, and he even did a reality show about painting, which is like it could happen, sure. In this world, like he became like a superstar. He's a bit of a recluse, and his kids are played by Jessica Gunning and James Corden, and it opens with what's her name, Michaela Cole, being hired by them and saying, hey, he's got this like series of paintings that's very famous, and he never did a third series, and we're pretty sure he has them like half finished in his attic. So I want you to go in, pretend to be his assistant, steal them and wait for him to die and then finish them, I guess, because she's an artist herself and because they want the money, right? And so that's kind of the jumping off point of the movie. But most of the movie, I mean, it's really just about her talking to Ian McKellen and them kind of developing this relationship, and you know, Ian McKellen being, you know, his character, he wants to destroy these paintings. He has, you know, bad feelings about his past. He's reconciling with his life, that kind of stuff. And it was really good. I like the only like thing I can say about it is it feels like a play. And that is really more of something that I kind of chafe up against. I think that most people would not have an issue with that. I think that chamber pieces can be great. And this one was really, really good. But I guess it gets to a point where I'm just kind of like, why is this a movie? It was shot very uh plainly, you know. There's a lot of handheld in it. There's not there's no like flashiness or anything, you know, special about the way it was filmed or experimental, say. But it's still a really good story. And as far as movies like this, I definitely liked this the best. It was just kind of like, oh, it's just people talking. But in that sense, I guess just I was expecting maybe something a little different from Soderbergh. Who knows? Uh, but I think that if you're okay with that, that you would have no issue with this. Like movies I didn't like that would be Doubt, that Nun movie, and Fences. I just thought I just like it just felt boring to me. This did not feel boring. I was locked in. But it really, like I said, it's kind of just this, mostly just this one location, this multiple story flat in, I'm guessing, London, that's just like full of like all of this like painting stuff like everywhere. It's like a huge mess. It's a beautiful set. It's still a good looking movie. It's a good story. I guess apparently Justin was saying in his review that you could view Ian McKellen's character, Julian Sklar, as Soderbergh himself, and this is him reconciling with his career. That's not something that I picked up on, but I think you could totally read it that way, which would make it even more interesting. Michaela Cole, the main character, she was great. I mean, she really stands up against Ian McKellen, who is doing these crazy verbose monologues that are just going off in all these directions, and there are definitely laughs in the movie. He's quite a funny character. So yes, not one of my favorite Soderberghs, but I would still recommend it. I think it was definitely a good time. And the screening I went to had subtitles, which I didn't even realize it. Probably a good idea because the dialogue was kind of fast, and you know, the accents, and sometimes I might have might have missed some stuff. So that's The Christophers. Okay, next movie. It's called Dust Bunny, and it's directed by Brian Fuller. Yes, Brian Fuller, who is a TV guy, did Pushing Daisies, Star Trek Discovery, Hannibal, Dead Like Me, which is a show that I watched, and a lot of Star Trek as well. So this is his first feature that he has directed and he wrote, and it stars Mads Mikkelsen. Sorry, Mads Mikkelsen. Sigourney Weaver's in there, and Sophie Sloane, who plays the little girl. And it is a movie about a little girl who has a monster under her bed, a bunny, giant bunny, and it's apparently killing people. And so she hires Mads Mikkelsen kind of as who is a hitman to destroy this monster. I did not like this movie. I didn't hate it, but there were some things in it that I liked, but I had real problems connecting with this movie. It just gave me this feeling of it was just trying too hard. It was trying too hard to be whimsical. I felt like the tone just it it wasn't hitting with me, and first of all, it looks like Amelie, which is not necessarily a complaint for me because I loved Amelie, but it felt like it was kind of like tributing that style a bit, where it's like, I don't know. I feel like it didn't know what it wanted to be, because it's like, is it a children's movie? Because it looks like it's shot like something like a series of unfortunate events or something, but there's also like, you know, violence in it. Um, it's not like brutal violence like the on screen, but like, yeah, like, you know, there's violence and there's people who are killed in the movie. Like the costume design and the set design, it was so over the top. It felt like like something you'd see in Harry Potter. It's to the point where I just didn't really feel like I knew the world, I suppose. I guess it just didn't bring me in a way that I was able to be like, okay, I get it. And I think that other people maybe would get it, but the whole tone, it just didn't vibe with me. The humor didn't vibe with me. People in the audience were laughing, but I didn't think it was funny. Like there's a thing where she has to like keep like saying what her name is because every time Mads Mikkelsen says it wrong. So he's like Aurora, 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 Aurora. And they do this joke like 5 times, or maybe it's 3 times. But I was like, it wasn't funny the first time. Now you're still doing it. um, but yeah, like the acting is fine. Mads Mikkelsen's fine. Sigourney Weaver, again, fine. David Dashmalchian shows up and he's always great. He was fun to see. He's not in it very much. It's very, very brief, but he was like a little bit of like a bright spot. And this movie also uses that fisheye blurry lens thing where just the center of whatever you're looking at, the person say, is in focus and everything else is distorted and blurry. The Chilling Tales of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch on Netflix used that a lot if you need to look up what I'm talking about. To the point where, I mean, that's a personal preference, but I just don't like how it looks. It kind of, it's almost disorienting to me. And it wasn't consistent. It wasn't like it was always using it. It was like just using it sometimes. Another thing I didn't like about the movie is there are practical effects, but there's a lot of CG, and it kind of it just took me out of it. Like I said, I really wanted to like this. This was one of the ones I was excited for as a Midnight Madness movie. I definitely wanted to see what Brian Fuller could do, but I felt like he was like trying to put everything into this, and it didn't feel like it was ready or something. I don't know. So yeah, it definitely wasn't for me. So I can't recommend that one. But at least he swung hard, It didn't I don't think it worked, but he clearly made something that he had a vision for, So I say good for him. Okay, and on to the John Candy documentary, which is called John Candy, I Like Me, and directed by Colin Hanks, Mr. Tom Hanks's son. So this was great. I mean, this is probably what you expect it to be, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. I mean, I saw this at 9 o'clock in the morning, full theater. It is very sad, as people are guessing correctly. But I mean, I didn't cry. So a woman next to me, she was crying a lot. But it's more like sentimental. It definitely is a wonderful tribute to him and just his life story, his struggles that he had, but also a celebration of everything that made him so unique and so funny. And we get Macaulay Culkin in there. Conan O'Brien is interviewed. He had an interaction with him when he was at Harvard. All the cast members that showed up in the Godspell documentary are in this as well, and it's wonderful. And so, like, the Godspell doc had some SCTV stuff in it. Of course, this has even more. So you get like even more of that like Canadian comedy from the the 70s and 80s, and into the 90s when he's starting to do movies and stuff, which was great. It was just really, really good. Yeah, so it is tragic, of course, but I still came away from it feeling, feeling good, if that makes sense. Another documentary that I was just like, boy, this is a big downer, was that Val Kilmer documentary. And he wasn't even dead yet when they shot that. That was still, again, really, really good. But I was like, oh, I didn't feel like that with this. I felt like big fans of his will probably be sad, because it is sad, but it's still, we should celebrate what he did while he was here. And he was just a absolutely special, unique personality and voice in comedy, and also a great actor, and also a great person. So it was wonderful. I think this is actually coming out in October to Amazon Prime, maybe. I'm not sure, but it is coming to. Oh yeah, Prime. Okay, yeah. So it's coming to streaming soon. So I'm sure a lot of people will be checking this one out. Okay, so next film is If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You by Mary Bronstein. Now, this is one of the few movies that I already knew about going into the festival. I had seen a trailer. I think I saw a tweet or something, and it was like Conan O'Brien in his first non-comedy role. I'm like, huh? Waited for the waited for the trailer to come out, and then I saw it, and I was like, interesting. So it looks like a movie about anxiety, and it is. So part of, but and then I was able to get a ticket for it. Like I said, it worked out with my schedule, and so I was like, okay, like in back of my mind, I was like, is this going to be too much to see in a theater? And it really wasn't. Like, I'm sure maybe for some people it would be, but so I was like, I don't know. I really wanted to see this, but I was like, is this gonna be too much, or is this going to be like the wrong vibe, I suppose, to see at a film fest? It couldn't have been more wrong. This was a really fun movie. Yes, it is. Okay, so I'll tell you what it's about. It's about Rose Byrne, and she has like I'm not sure how old her daughter is, maybe like 7 or something. She's special needs in the sense that she has some sort of medical condition where she can't eat, so she has a feeding tube. And so the kind of kickoff of the movie is, and this is all in the trailer, their ceiling caves in their house, and there's this big gaping hole. So her and her daughter have to move into a hotel, and it's just kind of like a week, I guess, in the life of her trying to manage all these things while trying to keep it all together. Her husband is away, of course. He's gone for 8 weeks. He's on some sort of, I don't know, like Navy thing, military leave. And she's just trying to kind of keep it all together. A lot of people are comparing this movie to Uncut Gems or Good Time. I think that that's pretty apt, but it's not without humor, and it's also not without lilts in the tension. So, and Good Time is one of my favorite movies. I really, really like it. And I believe Mary Bronstein is married to um the co-writer of Good Time. That's what, or oh yeah, and Uncut Gems. So that's where that influence comes from. But yeah, I haven't seen any of her movies before. She did some indies, something called Yeast in 2008, that I hear is very well loved. Um, but her work in this is amazing because it kind of frames this whole story as this woman who is just kind of trying her best, but she's at the end of her rope. She's falling apart. She's feeling so stressed. She has to meet this weight goal for her daughter in order to get this tube out. She's trying to balance work with this hole in the ceiling. She's just trying to keep all these balls in the air. She's, just dealing with a ton of stress. And I mean, she's great. Rose Byrne. The performance is just perfect. And so funny movies that I saw at this festival connecting to each other. So not only is Conan O'Brien in this, who was in John Candy Doc, she's also a therapist. So it's like the same character as same profession as in A Simple Life. A Simple Life? A Private Life. So she has to handle seeing her patients while all this stuff is going on, and then she is also seeing one of the other psychiatrists in her office, who is Conan O'Brien. And it's about all these things I already mentioned, but it's also kind of about having an inappropriate kind of feeling towards your therapist, which is a theme that also showed up in A Private Life, funny enough, and just about what are therapists for? How much is too much? Should they go? Is it crossing the line? To do this and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I feel like I'm not really selling this movie well enough, but it was actually really fun. Yes, it is stressful to watch, and if you're very sensitive to that, you might not dig it. But a movie came out last year called Night Bitch, based on a book that I absolutely hated, and I decided to see it because I was like, well, let's see how they do it, And Night Bitch movie was terrible. But it did fix some issues, a lot of issues I had with the book. But then it kind of didn't go far enough with a lot of what was going on, and so it became toothless. So it was off on all counts. But anyway, that movie uh, did everything wrong, whereas this movie did everything right. And it's a very similar story. It's about a mother whose husband is absent, who has a young child who is stressed and losing it. And this movie is just so watchable, and everything that she's going through is really happening. Whereas in Night Bitch, there's things that you're like, well, is this real or is this not real? And you're not being clear. Book and movie. You're not being clear about it. And some people like that. I didn't like that. And it became confusing and annoying. This is like, yeah, all this shit is happening and she's just trying to do her best, but it's really, really hard. I think some people might find the character who plays the daughter a little annoying, but she's annoying in the way that kids are annoying, and they can be annoying, and it's a fact of life. It's not that she doesn't love her daughter, but she makes some choices that might seem suspect, but so she's not like a perfect protagonist necessarily. A$AP Rocky is also in the movie. And he's good. He plays her like neighbor at the hotel. And also, yes, Conan, fabulous. There's absolutely no hint of a smile or of humor, of the personality, the affable personality that we have come to know so well. It's not there. It's not to say that he's disappearing into this character, no, but he's like the very, very cold version of himself, kind of, and he's very, very distant and clinical. And yeah, he plays it so well. And I don't know how it came about that he was asked to act in this movie, but I think it was brilliant. I want this movie to be nominated for something at the Oscars so he can host the Oscars again and then make jokes about how he's in the movie. That would be funny to me. But yeah, I honestly cannot recommend this movie enough. Like I said, if you're very sensitive to stressful things, like I know, like I've been trying to get Colin to watch Good Time for years and years and years, and he's like, I just don't think I can handle it. I'm not in the right mood set. So in that sense, it won't be for everybody, but it has also it has a very A24 feel, and I think you probably know what I'm talking about. And if you don't like that, then you might not like it. But yeah, overall, I liked this even more than I was expecting. And rounding it out, last movie, there was a documentary about Degrassi. So I saw that, on the movie list, and I was like, oh, gotta see that. That's the only one I really, really, really care about. Because I am a big Degrassi fan. All versions of it. I've seen it all. So I really wanted to see this. This was the last movie I saw. It was in the evening of the Saturday of the end of the festival. It's called Degrassi, Whatever It Takes, directed by Lisa Rideout. And it was in the big theater. Cast members showed up, so that was cool. Drake was not there, but Drake was in the documentary. He was interviewed, and he gave a lot of interviews. So this documentary was good. It's a lot, though. This show, there's so much. I think there's like 700 episodes or something. It went through so many different iterations and seasons. So a lot of it is just about the history of how it got started, and then it kind of focuses on big episodes that talk about very specific issues that weren't being talked about on other shows, and then a little bit about the legacy, a little bit, but also how then the last season it kind of ended up feeling out of touch, whereas the early seasons are very much in touch with the youth. So it doesn't sugarcoat things. It's critical of the show where it should be. Some people say maybe it could have been more critical, but it can't cover everything. And if it honestly, this could have been like a series, a documentary series. As it is, it's an hour and 51 minutes. But yeah, so what me and a lot of the fans are maybe a little upset about is they should have interviewed more cast members. They got a lot, but they didn't also get a lot of like key people. And I guess that was just in the concern of time. They just didn't want it to be just absolutely filled with all of these actors. But like, come on, no Joey Jeremiah. What are you talking about, you know? He's a pretty big he's a pretty big character as far as the show, and maybe he wasn't available, I don't know, but like I said, there's so many people that were on the show, you can't get everyone. But I would have been happy with just maybe even one blurb from, you know, many of these very, very important characters. So I guess it just was just too much to fit into one doc, and that's fine. But yeah, it was critical of the show, whereas like, you know, racial depictions could have been better. Like I said, in the last couple of seasons on Netflix, they were doing storylines that just did not connect at all with what was going on with youths at the time. Sometimes it would hit on something good, but it kind of felt, you know, like it kind of got a little bad towards the end. It's not a perfect show, but it did do a lot, and I think overall it was a net positive for the world, obviously. Like I said, big fan. You know, it was talking about things that no other show was talking about at many, many points, so it deserves points for that. And so yeah, like if you are a fan of the show, I don't know where this is streaming, but I'm sure it will be streaming eventually. If you're a fan of the show, I would definitely recommend checking it out. But just know, like, you know, your favorite cast member is probably not in it. Very likely. Like, they had Jake Epstein, they got Drake, Shanae Grimes, Shane Kipple, Miriam McDonald, Melinda Shankar. Again, these are all people from the Lauren Collins. I don't even remember her being in it. These are all people from the Next Generation cast. And then from the original, they had Spike. I can't remember her character's name. I'm looking at the cast list here. Stacey Mistison played her. I can't remember her name. Anyway, and Stephen Brogan played Snake. Deo Ade, who was BLT. I haven't seen him in a while, so that was nice. And the ladies who played the twins. So they did get a lot, but they couldn't get everyone. And yeah, so a lot of people, because this show has such rabid fans. Those people are going to be like, well, why didn't you talk about this? And why didn't you talk about that? It's like, it's not enough time, you know? But good movie to close the festival for me. So I saw 9 movies. I actually had tickets for 10. But I couldn't go because I had to work. I had tickets for something called Ballad of a Small Player, starring Colin Farrell. No idea what that was. I think it was about a con man or something. I heard it wasn't very good, so I mean, just from like 1 or 2 reviews I read. So it was okay that I missed it. But thank you for joining me or for listening to this. If you are at all interested in the movies that I saw at the festival, maybe I'll do this again next year if I manage to see enough movies. And yeah, thank you for listening. And yeah, check out all of these movies, because the only one I wouldn't recommend is Dust Bunny, but you might like it. But all of these movies are worth checking out when they come out. And that's it. Have a nice day. Bye.